So this is the next episode of All Apologies, Guilt and Blame. Episode 32, I think. And I'm just going to update you on what's been going on. It's going to be shocking. I very recently, had to find out, I guess, in a weird way, that Bobby, who I've been with for a long time, has not been on the up and up with me, which doesn't surprise me at all. My life has been just an up and down roller coaster for years. But now that I'm 64 and I live with Bobby and he has all these issues and I'm trying to deal with them. By the way, if you want to listen to that podcast, please go listen to Telling an Inconceivable Story. It is my podcast about how I perceive Bobby's life to have been and our life together and how I'm trying to deal with his issues. Anyway, to make a long story short, well, it's going to be hard to make a long story short, actually. My life with him has been like crazy, just complete crazy. And I do my best every day to remember that I feel responsible, I guess, in some way for him, because he has some mental challenges, mental issues, deficits, however you want to put it. He's been diagnosed with autism, but as a nurse of as many years as I've been, I knew something else was wrong with him. I just really never did much psych, and so it's not for me to say what really is wrong with him. I try my best to decipher things, but it's been a challenge. So I'm just kind of going to throw it at you. Recently, I had my car worked on, and he drove me to pick it up, not far from our home. And when I got out of the car, I looked at him and I said, okay, I'm going to be right behind you. Just drive home and sit in the parking lot, because we have a little parking lot at the house. And I said, just pull in and wait for me. I'll be right behind you. But don't go in, because my dog will go completely crazy, because she'll know that I'm not with you. Where am I? And I said, just sit in the car. I'll be right behind you. So I drove home and I got out. And as I was going in the house the way that I go in, I couldn't tell if he was still in the car or if he had gotten out and not listened to me, which he does quite a lot anyway. And I hollered and I said, get out of the car. And like I said, I couldn't tell if he was really even in it. But he did. He started getting out. And I went on in, didn't think anything about it other than the fact that obviously I pulled right up next to him, but obviously he doesn't, I don't know, doesn't know that I'm there or something, or was busy doing something else, looking at his phone. I don't know. I was just wanting to get in the door, let my dog out, and wash my hands. I, for some reason, had something on my hands and felt like I needed to wash my hands. So I came in, I let my dog out, I washed my hands, and he was still coming in the way that he normally comes in. And I said, "Did you hear me holler for you to get out of the car? You must have, because you started getting out." And he said, "Well, actually," or I don't know how he said it. He just said the reason he was slow is because something to the effect that he doesn't understand the details. That he listened to what I said when I got out of the car, but he didn't understand it. He doesn't get all the details. And I just stopped in my track. I just was like, okay, let me put my stuff down, and I'm going to go back to where you have your computer, and I'm going to talk to you about this. And I do that a lot. I mean, ever since I've moved in with him, there's just been one thing after another. And I want answers. Most of the time, I don't get them. But I'm a person that tries to fix everything. So I guess in my head, I was thinking, I just heard him say something that I need to know more about. So we sit down and I asked him again. And this time when he said the same stuff, which is that he only called, "Go home and sit in the car in the parking lot and I'll be right behind you." Something to that effect. He didn't catch anything about the dog. And I don't know. I was just thinking in my head, oh my gosh. But things just started to click, like it just threw me off that he finally said something that made sense, because for a long time now, he's done so many things that I shake my head over and just think, oh my gosh, what is wrong with you? Why are you so... You just don't make any sense. It's like you don't do anything the way other people do. I just so frustrated, and my nerves are shot. Truthfully, my nerves are shot. But I sat down with him and I asked him some questions, and I said, well, okay, so I know you've said you've had trouble with the details before. But like, are you not understanding a sentence? Like, does it feel like you don't really understand the words and you have to kind of piece them together? And we sit there. I don't remember what was said. It was like I was in just a tailspin. And then he said, I had said something about, well, you are on the computer a lot, so most of your work stuff is through email or text messaging online. So I just said, okay, well, you have that. Something like that. And he said, well, actually, I have to reread my emails multiple times, like 3 or 4, 5 times, to understand what they're really saying. And I think it was like the most truthful thing he's ever said. And that's unlike Bobby completely. Like, I've asked so many questions. Like I said, we've almost been together 2 years now, and I've asked so many questions about why did you do this? Why didn't you think this? Why did you do that? What's wrong with you? Why don't you answer? What you're saying doesn't make any sense. I'll be honest, I've been very judgmental, and I've just been on edge for most of this time because it is hard to make sense of mental disorders. And like with Bobby, autism didn't explain a lot of the issues he was having. There was just so much, and it was overwhelming. And like I said, if you want to know everything, please go listen to the other podcast. But I immediately, with my nursing background, said, oh my God, like, you have significant cognitive decline. And he just looked at me like he always does. And I said, no, you don't understand. Cognitive decline is big, especially what you're describing. And it's kind of making sense now that I'm trying to piece together everything in the past. And I said, you've been hiding this for so long. Why did you do that? Why didn't you tell me? And he was like, well, I just thought it was normal aging. And I said, no way. I said, you can say that, but trust me. Look at me. I'm 64. I'm only 5 years younger than you. And no, cognitive decline like what you're having is like dementia. Your mom has dementia. But this kind of dementia, I don't really know about. I'm going to have to research. I said, but there is something really, really wrong here. But it's making sense to me. And you don't understand. But this type of cognitive decline is huge. It's life-changing. Because if you don't understand what you hear or what you read, I don't know. It's big. It's telling is what it is. And I said, we got to make you a doctor's appointment. So we did. And we just went to see his primary care because I just needed, I don't know, I needed medical opinions to back me up, I guess. So I said, so this is what's happening. And I could tell that the doctor was taken off guard. After all, you'd have to go back and listen to the other podcast telling an inconceivable story. But Bobby's been living like this fake persona on the outside when he goes anywhere, like to work or to Walmart or to get his hair done or to the doctor. It's not really telling of who he really is. He pretends to be this good old, helpful, friendly, talkative country boy. And no, that is not at all the man that I live with. Not in any way, shape, or form. I thought the same thing when we first met. We've known each other for like 5 years. And when we first met, I thought he was just normal like any other man. But ever since I've lived with him, it's been a nightmare. I immediately could see that he wasn't the person he pretended to be. So therefore, I really didn't know him. It was like I knew someone different from him. But now it all started clicking in my head, and like I said, I took him to the doctor, and I could see that the doctor was like, so he's come in here once a year for a long time and gotten refills on his medicine. And he's always chipper and friendly. And he always says, I'm doing fine. And I understand that. That's how he projects himself. That's the persona that he puts on. And he would never tell anybody that there's anything wrong. I do know that at one time he did tell the doctor that he felt depressed in some way. And I do know the doctor gave him some antidepressive medicine, so to speak. But, people go to their doctors all the time. I've been a nurse a long time, and they always go in and talk, and they might say, I've been real nervous about this, or I feel like I'm a little depressed. And if you are seeing your doctor regularly, then they're going to go, okay, well, let me give you something so you can hopefully get some rest or some help, or hopefully this will take care of it. But with Bobby never really being truthful, he wasn't getting the truth. And so when I walked in there, and I had never been with him before to his primary care, I'm sure his primary care was like, okay, so who are you? And you are telling me he has significant cognitive decline. And it probably didn't make a lot of sense to his primary care doctor. I could just see it all over him that he was like confused as hell. But Bobby spoke up and he said, what she's telling you is true. I have been having trouble understanding what's being said or what I read, like in emails and things like that. And I didn't want to go into like Bobby's life history, basically, because it's a lot. And it's frightening. And it's horrific. And it's tragic. And it's just crazy. And I didn't want to go down that road. But I did tell him that we had him at a psychiatrist and that she she had diagnosed him with autism. And I always knew there was something else, or maybe more than just one thing else. And now, shockingly, this has come out that he's hidden for a long time, and it makes sense. And I needed him to, know that. And maybe, I don't know. I barely got through what I wanted to say. And I don't think he really grasped everything that I said. I think the doctor himself was not grasping what I was saying, or being caught off guard so much that he didn't know what to say. And he said, well, there would be a lot of tests, and we could get an evaluation done in order to get a real diagnosis. And I get that, except it's the same thing as the autism. Bobby doesn't want to do that. He's just not like that. And at his age and my age, it's almost like there's no reason to go through that now. Because he doesn't want to talk to anyone. He just wants to be left alone to do his routine and to be in denial. And I take care of everything. And I think the thought of going through a lot of testing, neurological testing, is very difficult for someone that I've seen just break down and cry when he's faced with having to admit that there's something wrong. So I just didn't want to do that. But we left, and actually we have another appointment in like a week. And I'm sure the doctor's going to bring that up to go get tested to get an accurate diagnosis. I have worked on researching his issues. And like I said, I don't have the ability to make an accurate diagnosis, and I would never pretend that I do. But a lot of his issues fit with FTD, which is a type of dementia. And, I'm sure that maybe getting a evaluation done and stuff like that might be something that we would eventually get to. But right now, this is all really taking him off guard, and me. And we're both old. And from what I've read, it could be expensive. And he lives a very quiet existence with me. And he's not looking for a cure to fix himself. I think he's just looking to try to hopefully have a prognosis of it not overtaking him like he has seen his mom, who has just, I guess you would call it regular old dementia, Alzheimer's type. She's had it for many years, and she's now 89. But hers is of a different type. So hers is mostly, she just kind of tells stories and lives in her own little space. And she doesn't know names or remember dates and things like that. But she's aware. She just has trouble with her memory. And I think to him, that's kind of how he wants to see it. There's a lot more to FTD than Alzheimer's, but, I guess I should just say standard dementia, because it's a lot more than just losing your memory and not being able to put things together in that way. But his is different, and there are behavioral changes that now I'm like, oh wow, this is a lot, because it makes so much sense as to what I've been through with him already. But, yeah, I didn't mean to make this whole episode on my own podcast all apologies, guilt, and blame. I really meant to just focus on how I'm feeling, which is overwhelmed, distraught, a basket of nerves. I don't know. I don't know where we go from here, to be honest. Okay, so I'm going to stop here. I'm going to have to make this episode into 2 parts. I realized too late that I got to talking. So this is going to be part 1, and I will follow it up, I promise. But just know that I'm okay. I feel numb, but I'm okay. And I will follow this up with part 2. Just give me a moment. And please keep listening.